Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking the top 5 best cards at each position in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM. Now, I am excluding 100 overalls in this list, as well as, I guess, GOAT cards, although there's only a few of those. But I am not including those cards in this list, but this is every other card in the game, gambling or not, basically on this list included in this video. So, before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 30,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, tons of consistent daily MyTEAM content. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. And let's start off with the point guard position, which is a very good position with a couple of good non-gambling cards on this list. But starting off with number 5 is Clyde Drexler, who is free and very good. Not available anymore from the bold set, but a very, very solid card. 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan. A lot of badge completeness. Missing half handles for days would be the one critique probably for him badge-wise, but he's a versatile card with a nice release. Great SIGs, great animations across the board. Just does really everything well with an elite dribble style, elite escape, great behind the back, great drag back, elite leaner, super smooth fade, athletic, versatile, does everything well. He's one of the best point guards in the game without a doubt. Number 4 is going to be Ben Simmons. 6'11" is the value of Ben. The non-value of Ben is that his release is not very good, and his release also gets slowed down really easily. So one of the best, he's the best defensive point guard in the game for sure. He's a great playmaker as well and a great slasher, but he is a bit limited as a shooter. An 87 3-ball doesn't feel super low in gold shooting badges, but I will say his release is not exceptional. It does not get off incredibly fast. He is not a big threat as a 3-hunter, and that does kind of limit this card. I think he's very, very good, but I don't know. I think he's very, very good in my team, I would assume. I like him. I haven't used him a ton, I'll be honest. I only have used Ben a few times because I haven't pulled him, so I've only used him on accounts. He's really good in every way except for as a shooter, but I think the shooting kind of limits him, and that's why I have him pretty low. Like Lonzo at 3. The thing about Lonzo, and the reason I have him over Ben, yes, he's 4 inches shorter, 5 inches shorter, I get it. But Lonzo is still a great defender, just like Ben, although maybe not quite as great, especially because of the lack of size, but badge-wise very similar, statistically very similar, an elite-level playmaker and an elite finisher, but a much better shooter than a Ben Simmons is, in my opinion. Better upper, makes his fade easier to green, his SIGs are better as a whole, he's got a better behind the back, like, just a better overall card than Ben Simmons, and yes, he's a few inches shorter, but honestly, right now, I think I would take Lonzo with his improved shot creation and shot-making ability at the point guard spot. Now, number 2, I say Jokic. This feels almost wrong because Jokic is very similar to Ben in terms of his biggest attribute being his size, and I will admit Jokic's SIGs and release are also not exceptional. So I say this, and then I'm like, I don't know. I like Jokic is a better player build than Ben. I will say that, and he's a better shooter than Ben is in terms of his badges, for sure, and I think that helps. I like him more. Do I like him more than Lonzo, though? That's an interesting question. I'm sitting here thinking, I know Jokic's size, but like I think I would still take Lonzo over him, actually. So I'm changing this on the fly, putting Jokic at 3, Lonzo at 2, and then at number 1, we are going with point guard Larry Bird as the best point guard option in my team right now that is not a 100 overall. As interesting as that is to say, I do believe this is actually it because he combines the size at 6'9", 7-foot wingspan with the SIGs and the release. I feel like he is kind of a better Lonzo Ball in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? He does everything well, very complete, but he's 6'9", and he's got a smooth, easy release. IQ's base is pretty good. Pro 2 fade as well. His upper may not be the best of the best, but as a whole, I think he is the best balance of size, versatility, and animations, and I think he does everything incredibly well and is probably your best point guard option right now. Now, shooting guard position, Paul George at number 5. Really good, but I will say a little bit limited maybe by his release. Like, not really. His release isn't a problem, but it's not unbelievably great. That would be my biggest critique with PG. He's 6'9". He's really good. The shooting guard position is deep, and there's a lot of really good cards that aren't on this list, but 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan, great badge completeness. The one real complaint with him probably, honestly, would be his release not being the best release in the game. But I still think it's a pretty good release, and all of his other animations are great. It's just the shooting guard position is so deep. You got a guy like Dr. J who has one of the best releases in the game. A couple inches shorter, maybe an inch shorter than Paul George, but exceptional slasher, really good SIGs as well with an amazing release, and he's still only number 4 because he only has gold removable enforcer instead of Hoff. Like, that would be my only real critique with Dr. J, and yet I put him at number 4 because there's so many like basically perfect shooting guards. Like Ron Artest at 3. He's pretty much perfect. Elite release, has all the key Hall of Fame badges that you want. good enough size, and he's one of the best defensive cards in the game. But I only have him at number 3 because, well, I mean, his release could maybe be a little better, and he's only 6'7", so there's like, if you want to nitpick a couple things, it's probably that, whereas a guy like Michael Beasley at number 2 has Kyrie dribble style instead of MJ, maybe a slightly faster release, and he's 2 inches taller. Like, it becomes very much opinion-based and very close between a lot of these cards, to be fair, but I think I'd put Beasley at 2 just because he's a little bit bigger. Badge-wise, still insanely complete, but I think him mainly having that Kyrie dribble style and a release that's probably even a little bit quicker than our tests is probably the one differentiator between these cards, and I think the main thing that causes me to put him at number 2. Number 1 is still Glenn Rice, though, the only free card in the game with the Patty Mills base, one of the only cards in the game with the Patty Mills base, especially of this tier, and he is, I think, the only card in this list actually that has it, but he's still probably one of the very best cards in the game. He might be the best card in the game still. Glenn Rice is incredible, and he is the best free reward card 2K has ever dropped. I legitimately believe that. Still number 1 to this day, and will continue to be for a while. These number 5 and number 4 are basically the same card. John Isaac is just an inch taller, but they do the exact same thing. They're very meh as playmakers, capable but not unbelievably elite shooters, but definitely very good, and then elite level big versatile defenders. They give you the 3-and-D at a high level. The 3-point release could be maybe slightly better, but it's certainly not bad. It's a very good release still. And then capable but not next level elite shot creation. I think Luol Deng and Jonathan Isaac are basically the same card. John Isaac's just a little bit taller, so that's why I put him there. Now, number 3 is Larry Bird. The thing about Larry is he's 6'9", John Isaac's 6'9", 10, Luol's 6'9", so he's got that same size, but he has better SIGs than these dudes do. Jamal Murray behind the back, really good half-court SIGs. Trey Escape, oh wow, I'm pretty sure y'all just heard that. That was quite the thunderclap in the background, so I apologize about that, but Larry Bird, I think, truly is probably the 3rd best small forward in the game besides these 100 overalls. I really think he's great. Like, Larry Bird's the best GOAT card they've dropped for sure by far, because the GOAT series for Shaq and MJ were both just full of pretty mediocre cards, to be honest. Number 2, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I'm putting Kyle Kuzma at number 2. The reason I like this Kuzma card so much is because he is, yes, he's 6'9", 7-foot wingspan, so he's got similar size to these other guys, but he has the completeness with half handles for days as a playmaker. In addition, all the other key badges, Kyrie dribble style, Trey Escape, Harden behind the back, isn't quite Jamal Murray behind the back, but it's very good. Pro 2 fade and an elite level release. I think he's probably the best of all these guys because I think, again, he gives you the best mix of everything. He is the best overall shot creator, shooter, defender, everything, versus John Isaac and Luol Deng, who might be slightly better defenders, and I think Larry Bird is basically just a slightly worse version of Kyle Kuzma, because they basically do the same thing. Number 1 small forward in the game right now, though, is Tim Thomas, who is 6'10", with this same level of shot creation ability and a very nice release. I think he is the best of all of these guys. All of these guys are close. All of these guys are competitive level. I just think Tim Thomas is probably the best because I think he gives you the best shot creation at his size. Power forward, top 5 is going to start with Mo Bamba, who is a buyable opal. Really good card. One of the best opals in all of my team. Very smooth release. Very solid shooter. He's got actually really good shot creation as well as with the Trey Escape and the Harden behind the back as a 7-foot big with a 7'10" wingspan. And that wingspan is really valuable defensively. This is one of the very best opal cards in the game. In fact, it might be the best opal in the game right now. Really like Mo Bamba at number 5. I almost want to put him a couple hot spots higher than I do. I will say this entire top 5 is very much opinion based when it comes to a position like power forward because these guys are really well balanced. Like a Kwame Brown, 6'11" with 7'1" wingspan. He's an inch shorter than Mo Bamba. He's got a little bit less shot creation ability in terms of his SIGs being quite as elite, but he's got better all around badges as a base card. He's got a better release, I think, than Mo Bamba. Kobe base Tim Duncan upper is really good. Still has Kyrie dribble style, Kemba escape, just doesn't have the elite behind the back. That's really the only complaint SIGs wise. All of his other SIGs are still really good. Kwame is still one of the very best power forwards in the game, and I think deserving a spot pretty high on the list. Again, number 4. Number 3 is going to be George Mikan, who is free. I like that this is a good mix of non-gambling, gambling cards, at least at some of these positions. I think this is a good spot here. Like Mikan at 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. He's got all the SIGs, all the animations. He needs handles for days. He needs Agent 3 open looks. Like a couple of badgers added probably, but similarly to Kwame Brown, very solid shot creator. He's got a better behind the back than Kwame does, which is a plus. I think his release is also really good. He's very similar to Kwame Brown. They give you a lot of similarities, but I think him having that behind the back is probably the one thing that gives him a very slight edge to me. But honestly, these two guys are interchangeable. Really, all 3 of these guys are basically interchangeable. Really, you could argue all 5 of these guys are interchangeable. Number 2 is going to be Bol Bol. He's 7'2". He's the biggest biggest of the group, but he's also the only one that does not have Hoff Movable Enforcer and Hoff Brick Wall. So that's the main critique with him. Also, his release, I don't think is as fast as anybody else's on this list, at least out of this group, I don't think, but it's still a very good release. He's got Hoff handles for days. He's a 7'2" power forward, which is really glitchy. Very, very good defender still, especially because of his length. So I think the slight deficiencies that he might have in some small areas are not big enough for him to not deserve a spot very high on this list. And you could argue 1. I'm going number 2. Number 1 still to me just goes to this Nate Thurmond card because goodness gracious, he is souped. Yes, he needs, well, he's not as souped as a base card as some of these guys are. I will say that. But if you add the shooting badges, 85 3-ball, you can get that into the 90s with a coach and a shoe. You're going to be just fine. Shooting badges, Agent 3, Blinders, Deadeye, Limitless, Open Looks, and a couple others probably. You add those, you have one of the best playmakers in the game, one of the best dunkers and defenders in the game, elite level versatile card, 6'11 with a 7'2 wingspan, so he's got good size, but then he also has Kyrie dribble style, Trae Young escape, Jamal Murray behind the back, Francis size up, the ability to actually trigger the behind the back on a consistent basis, Pro 2 fade, and an elite level very smooth release, basically John Isaac's release, but better because it's got a better upper than John Isaac does. So I think if you badge him out, he is the best power forward in the game still to this day, and that is kind of crazy to say, but outside of 100 overalls, he is that good, legitimately. Now, center position is going to start with another viable opal, which is Artis Gilmore. Yes, he's got a low 3-ball. That is really the only flaw with this card. He's not a playmaker, but that's okay. His 3-ball is gradable, though. It's a very smooth release, and if you put a shoe on him and some shooting badges, he is a very solid catch-and-shoot 3-point shooter, and he is... That thunder is, wow, goodness gracious, I apologize, y'all. But Artis Gilmore, really, really good card. Does everything well. 7'2" at the center position. The afro makes him look closer to 7'3" or 7'4", and like I said, capable shooter, great interior defender, great dunker. Really, really solid card. Mark Eaton is number 4. He and Artis are basically the same card, pretty much. They have very similar player builds. They give you the same thing. They both have solid releases and low 3-ball ratings, but like they pretty much do the exact same thing. I give Mark Eaton the slight edge because he might be slightly more complete as a base card, but they do the exact same thing, and you can interchange them, I think, pretty much, because they are going to give you about the same thing on the court. Kristaps Porzingis at number 3 is a elite level shooter who also has still all the interior stuff with anchor and a movable enforcer and all that type of stuff on Hall of Fame, which is really nice. But he gives you the elite level shot making ability as a popper with a really good release and also all the Hoff shooting badges, which is really probably the most important thing because Eaton and Artis have great shooting releases. They just don't have the stats and badges to back them up, whereas KP 100% does, and that gives him an edge over those guys, puts him at number 3. Number 2 is Wemby, who is faster than KP and an inch taller than KP. Release is not as good, but he's also got a better fade, so I think as a whole, he is a better card than Kristaps Porzingis. Not by a significantly huge amount, but I do think he is your second best center. With that being said, the best center in the game besides 100 overalls, without a doubt, is Dikembe Mutombo right now, and I'm realizing I forgot somebody on this list. This is going to be a top 6 because I'm not taking Artis off, but Yao Ming slots in here probably right there would be my guess. No, not the 100 overall. 100 overall Yao is obviously number 1, but he does not count. 99 overall Yao is somewhere in here. Probably 4th, I think. I forgot him, and that's my bad, but I don't think he's better than Dikembe Mutombo, and honestly, I don't think he's better than Wemby or KP either. They're faster than him, they're better shooters than he is, and they have better releases. I think Yao is very good. He's a dominant interior force, and he can hit a wide-open 3, but I think putting him 4 is fair. Dikembe is distinctly 1, though. Best release of any of these guys for sure. Massive player build, elite-level defender, super fast, can put the ball on the floor. I think he is the most complete of any of these cards and has the best release of any of them, so between those two things, that 100% makes him the best of all these centers, despite being technically the shortest of all of them. So, yeah, that is that. This is my top 5 players at each position right now with, I guess, 6 centers, and not including, again, any 100 overalls or GOAT cards or anything like that. So, be interested to hear y'all's thoughts on this list because I know it's a little bit, I don't know, might be a little controversial in certain areas, but I'd be interested to hear y'all's thoughts. Hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.